Welcome to the Daily Holy Story. In a book called De Ave Dibur, a rabbi by the name of Zalman Sorotzkin told over the following story. In the city of Zettel, where he was a rabbi, there was a young boy who came from a very good family who purchased a taxi cab and made his livelihood by taking people from the train station to the city and back to the train station. Little by little, he began to delay on Fridays and to start taking the taxi before Shabbat ended, until he began to desecrate Shabbat outwardly. He drove on Shabbat and people protested. The rabbi summoned him. He yelled at him, but the young boy did not listen. He promised to improve, but he didn't keep his promise. His father was a Jew who was very ill, who suffered from his illnesses, and he was so busy with his illnesses that he didn't pay attention to his son desecrating the day of Shabbat. One day, Rabbi Zalman was in Vilna in a meeting for education, and over there was the Chafetz Chaim and other great rabbis. When they were going to return to their home, Rabbi Zalman heard that the Chafetz Chaim was going to be on the same train as him, going back to Radin. Rabbi Zalman looked through the window and he saw that the father of the taxi boy was on the train with his cast and his bandages all over his body, coming onto the train. The rabbi turned to him and asked him how he is. He said, "Did you get better? Did the doctors permit you to go back home?" He said, "No, I'm not better. I'm not going back home. I want to go on this train to Radin, to the Chafetz Chaim. I had a dream, and in my dream, my grandma came to me, who passed away a long time ago, and she said, 'Enough for you going to hospitals and doctors and trying to cure yourself. Get up and go to the Chafetz Chaim. Get a beracha from him, and he will cure you. And I am now going to Radin to get a beracha from the Chafetz Chaim.'" Rabbi Zalman was in shock about the dream, and he told the man, "You don't have to travel to Radin. The Chafetz Chaim is on this train, right in the next car." The ill man became very emotional, and he saw this as a sign from the heavens that made his dream a true dream. He went towards the Chafetz Chaim, who was praying, and all the people were following to see what's going to happen. So, as he was listening to the prayers of the Chafetz Chaim, the rabbi from Zettel, Rabbi Zalman, came up with an idea. He called to Rabbi Hillel Ginsburg, who was the husband of the granddaughter of the Chafetz Chaim, and he told him about the boy who was traveling in a taxi on Shabbat. He asked Rabbi Hillel to tell the Chafetz Chaim, before the sick man, the father, can go to the Chafetz Chaim for the beracha, and tell him about the boy who was traveling in a taxi on Shabbat, and to tell the father to tell his son to change his ways. Rabbi Hillel Ginsburg agreed, and they went back to the train, and all of a sudden, their eyes became darkened. The Chafetz Chaim finished his prayer, and the sick man was standing next to him, asking for a beracha. They got there too late. With no choice, they stood there and started listening to the man telling his story to the Chafetz Chaim about his sicknesses and how his grandma came to him in a dream to get a beracha from the Chafetz Chaim. The Chafetz Chaim turned to the man and told him, "Who is going to give you a beracha? Yisrael Meir? You think that the beracha of Yisrael Meir, who was the Chafetz Chaim, going to help? Heaven forbid. You know who the hands of the berachot are in? Who they're given over to? To the holy Shabbat. Shabbat is blessed from Hashem, and that is the source of all blessings. Why do you ask me for a beracha?" And then the Chafetz Chaim paused, and he said, "If you keep Shabbat like you're supposed to, and you will receive its beracha, then Yisrael Meir can give you a beracha. But if you don't want to keep Shabbat, and you think that it's enough for Yisrael Meir to give you a beracha, that's not possible. That's impossible. It's not in my hands. I cannot do it. And then the Chafetz Chaim paused again, and he told the man, maybe you'll tell me that you keep Shabbat, and you're worthy for a beracha. Look what it says in the Torah. On Shabbat, you shall not do work. Not you, not your son, not your daughter. This warning is only in the mitzvah of Shabbat. It doesn't say anywhere in the Torah, don't eat milk and meat, you and your son and your daughter. Wear tefillin, you and your son. Only by Shabbat does it say that you, the father, are responsible for your children to keep Shabbat. And if you keep Shabbat, and your child doesn't keep Shabbat, and your daughter goes and brushes her hair on Shabbat, you cannot receive the beracha of Shabbat, and Yisrael Meir cannot give you a beracha. The Chafetz Chaim finished his words, and the father fell down crying and promised that his son will no longer drive in the taxi on Shabbat, and his daughter will no longer brush her hair on Shabbat. And then the Chafetz Chaim was willing to give him a beracha. Thank you for listening, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.